done? What came over me? Who am I?
He was who he was and needed the women that he was with to represent him in a certain way. But would he have been different if I could have said, don't do that? I don't like it.
At 78, Sally Field lives a life that feels worlds away from the glitz and adoration that once defined her. Sally Field hasn't been seen in public in over a year until last week. Paparazzi caught a glimpse, and what they found left fans stunned. Frail, alone, almost unrecognizable. From 2 Academy Awards to vanishing without a word, Sally Field's retreat from fame wasn't graceful. Years of emotional wounds, untreated health struggles, and a deepening rift with those closest to her have left their mark. Insiders claim she's quietly sold off properties, downsized her staff, and become increasingly reclusive. It was sudden, secretive, and deeply unsettling. And now, with insiders leaking details of isolation, illness, and severed ties, the truth is finally surfacing. But is it already too late? A childhood filled with secrets. Sally Field was born in Pasadena, California in 1946, but her childhood was far from peaceful. Her mother, Margaret Field, remarried when Sally was just 4. That man was actor and stuntman Jock Mahoney. To the public, he was charismatic and successful, but inside the home, Sally says he was cold, controlling, and at times, cruel. She has spoken in recent years, cautiously, painfully, about the emotional and physical abuse she endured under his roof. There were boundaries crossed that never should have been. Lines violated that no child should ever face. Sally kept those secrets buried for decades, not because she wanted to, but because no one was listening. Her mother looked away. Whether it was denial, fear, or emotional dependency, she refused to confront what was happening. Sally's cries were met with silence, her pain dismissed as drama. So she stopped crying. She swallowed the shame and smiled when told to. That smile would later become her trademark, but it began as a mask. By the time she entered show business, Sally had already mastered the art of pretending. On the set of Gidget, she played the happy teenager. Off camera, she was just a girl trying to survive what had already been stolen from her. Safety, trust, and a normal childhood. The damage shaped her deeply. It made her wary of authority, hesitant to trust men, and prone to emotional withdrawal. These early wounds didn't just scar her, they followed her into every role, every relationship, every room she ever entered. Used and controlled by the men who made her. Sally Field may have been celebrated on camera, but behind the scenes, her career was shaped by control and coercion. From her earliest roles, powerful men in Hollywood treated her less like a person and more like a product. Executives picked her outfits, dictated her weight, and rewrote lines to fit their image of what a marketable woman should be. When she resisted, she was labeled difficult. One director, widely respected in the industry, told her point blank she'd never succeed unless she got closer to him. He wasn't talking about collaboration. He wanted her silence, her obedience, and her body. She declined. The role went to someone else. She never spoke publicly about the incident until decades later. Even when she did land parts, she wasn't free. Contracts bound her to shallow roles that mocked her intelligence. The Flying Nun became a hit, but Sally hated it. She once described wearing the habit as a prison. She begged for serious roles, but producers insisted she smile, stay thin, and keep quiet. Her voice, her instincts, her ideas, none of them mattered. Men in charge saw her as decoration, not depth. She learned to nod, to wait, to endure. But inside, she was boiling. The fight for creative control, for agency over her own image, became a war she waged in silence for years. The industry praised her performances, but ignored the cost. What she gave to Hollywood was talent. What it took from her was power. And she never fully got it back. The Oscar-winning curse. Sally Field won her first Academy Award in 1980 for Norma Ray and a second in 1985 for Places in the Heart. To the public, it looked like triumph. To Sally, it became a warning sign. Winning should have opened doors, Instead, it made her a threat. After her speeches, especially the famous "You Like Me" moment, directors began distancing themselves. Some mocked her for being too earnest. Others said she was too intense. She was labeled emotional, unpredictable, even unstable, not because of how she acted, but because she dared to be vulnerable and unapologetically ambitious. Producers stopped calling. Leading roles dried up. When she pushed for complex characters or questioned scripts, the answer was always the same. She was being difficult. Male actors were praised for passion. She was punished for it. Hollywood didn't want her voice. It wanted her silence. Her success had crossed an unspoken line. Instead of celebrating her rise, the industry quietly clipped her wings. Sally tried to pivot, producing, taking smaller parts, auditioning for roles far beneath her talent. The awards sat on her shelf, collecting dust, while scripts piled up that she never wanted to read. She wasn't blacklisted, but she was sidelined. She once said in an interview, "You win, and you think everything will change. But sometimes, that's the exact moment it starts to fall apart." For Sally, the Oscars weren't just trophies. They were a reminder. In Hollywood, the higher a woman climbs, the faster they look for reasons to push her down. A mother, but always alone. Sally Field had 3 sons, Peter, Eli, and Sam, and raised them mostly on her own. While juggling back-to-back film shoots, press tours, and the pressures of fame, she was still the one making school lunches, attending parent-teacher meetings, and staying up through the night when they were sick. She rarely had help. No nannies, no assistants, just her, trying to be enough for everyone. She sacrificed roles to be present. She turned down scripts if they meant missing a birthday or a school recital, but those efforts didn't shield her from the reality that parenthood doesn't come with guarantees. As the years passed, her relationships with her sons began to shift. One reportedly stopped speaking to her entirely for over a year. Another criticized her political activism in public, creating a painful divide. Sally tried not to comment, but in one rare interview, her pain surfaced. "I gave them my everything. Sometimes it wasn't enough." It wasn't bitterness, it was heartbreak. A quiet acknowledgement that love doesn't always return the way it's given. Even now, as she grows older and more isolated, she rarely speaks of family. She lives alone. No sons in the spotlight. No red carpet appearances with her arm linked to theirs. Just the silence of an empty home and the ache of motherhood that never really ends. To the world, she was a star. To her children, she was a constant. But even constants can fade into the background, especially when the spotlight dims. Health battles she tried to hide. Sally Field has always appeared strong, but behind the scenes, her body has been quietly breaking down. For years, she has lived with osteoporosis, a degenerative bone disease that weakens the bones and makes even basic movement painful. She was diagnosed in her 50s, but kept it quiet for a long time, afraid that public knowledge would cost her work. The disease has progressed. Some mornings, she struggles to get out of bed. There are days she can't stand for more than a few minutes. Walking long distances is out of the question. She's undergone multiple surgeries on her back, her hips, and joints, but the relief is temporary. The pain always returns. In private interviews, she's admitted the toll it's taken. "Some days I pretend I'm fine," she once said, but pretending doesn't stop the ache. Her doctors advised her to slow down, to rest more, but rest doesn't come easy to someone who spent decades surviving through motion. Still, she almost never talks about it publicly. Hollywood trained her to hide discomfort, to smile through it, to never show weakness. Even now, in her late 70s, she avoids sympathy. She doesn't want pity. She just wants peace. But the reality is clear. Behind the closed doors of her quiet home, she's fighting a battle she never signed up for. Not with scripts or cameras, but with her own bones, her own body, and the silence that comes when the world stops watching. The industry moved on without her. Sally Field is a 2-time Oscar winner, or a household name, and one of the most respected actresses of her generation. But in Hollywood, that hasn't mattered for years. As she aged, the phone rang less. Scripts stopped coming. When they did, they were often insulting. Grandmothers with no depth, background roles with no lines, or characters written to be invisible. Streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon created a new golden age of television. But Sally wasn't invited. Despite her experience and acclaim, she was passed over for projects led by actresses half her age with a fraction of her resume. Casting agents called her too mature, or not what we're looking for. The message was clear. She had outlived her marketability. She spoke once about the shift. It's like they forget you exist. You're still alive. You still care. But they stop seeing you. The hurt wasn't just professional. It was personal. Acting wasn't a hobby. It was her life, her outlet, her voice. She fought to stay relevant, took on indie films, said yes to stage roles, but the momentum never returned. The same industry that once built her up slowly turned its back the moment she no longer fit the image they wanted. Sally doesn't beg for parts. She never has. But the silence from Hollywood, the same machine she gave decades to, has been deafening. Not because she failed, but because she aged. And in this business, aging as a woman is the most unforgivable act of all. Section 8. Love Lost, Again and Again. Sally Field's love life reads like a series of near misses and painful lessons. Her most talked about relationship, her on-again, off-again romance with Burt Reynolds, was the kind of headline-grabbing love story that looked passionate on the outside. But behind closed doors, it was volatile, manipulative, and deeply wounding. Years later, Sally would call it emotionally abusive. She said he made her feel small, constantly needing to control or correct her. Loving him, she admitted, meant slowly losing herself. Before and after Reynolds, there were marriages. Each ended in divorce. She tried to build something lasting, something stable, but the same strength that fueled her career often clashed with partners who expected her to be less vocal, less ambitious, less independent. Love for Sally came with conditions she couldn't accept. In recent interviews, she's said plainly she hasn't dated in over a decade. She no longer expects to find a partner. The desire, she says, just faded. Not because she doesn't believe in love, but because she's tired of being disappointed by it. Her house is quiet now. No partner, no romantic entanglements, just memories, some tender, some painful. She's spoken of loneliness, but also of peace. There's a kind of calm that comes when you stop expecting anyone to rescue you. Sally Field gave the world her heart in every role she played. Off-screen, that heart was bruised more often than held. And now, at 78, she's learned to live without expecting anyone else to carry it. Alone in a big house. Sally Field lives in a spacious California home nestled in the hills, a house that once echoed with laughter, late-night rehearsals, and family dinners. Now, it's quiet. Too quiet. Neighbors say they rarely see her. When they do, it's brief, a slow walk to the mailbox, a quiet trip to the grocery store, always alone. She avoids eye contact. She avoids conversation. The paparazzi still follow her sometimes, though less frequently now. The photos they capture are stark. Sally, hunched slightly, wearing oversized clothes, her eyes downcast. No makeup, no smile, no hint of the vibrant woman who once lit up every red carpet. She's become a ghost to the world that once celebrated her. Her home is filled with reminders, awards on shelves, old scripts tucked in drawers, photos of her sons as children, of moments that felt bigger than life. But those memories now sit in stillness. No premieres, no parties, just her and the weight of everything she's carried. She's said little about her solitude, but her actions speak clearly. She's withdrawn from nearly all public life. No film festivals, no reunions, no guest appearances. It's as if she's slowly erasing herself from the Hollywood story. Some call it privacy, others retreat. But the truth feels heavier. Sally Field lives in a home built by years of success, but now filled with silence. The applause has stopped. The cameras have turned, and all that remains is space, large, echoing, and unbearably still. What she wishes you knew. Sally Field spent a lifetime convincing the world she was fine. Her smile was flawless, her performances felt real, but beneath the surface was a woman carrying decades of pain, rejection, and silence. In a rare moment of honesty, she once admitted, "People think because I smiled, I was happy, but sometimes I was acting off camera too." That sentence reveals more than any biography ever could. She gave everything, her youth, her vulnerability, her truth, to an industry that rarely gave back. Hollywood praised her work but ignored her voice. Fans adored her roles but never asked what it cost to play them. And now, as she grows older, that silence feels louder than ever. Sally never chased fame for the spotlight. She did it to express something real, something buried. But too often, she was told to shrink, to soften, to hide the very depth that made her extraordinary. Even now, at 78, she isn't bitter, but she is tired. Tired of pretending, tired of being invisible. She lives quietly, yes, but she's not without hope. Her legacy isn't just the films she made, it's the strength it took to survive them. The courage to tell the truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. What Sally wishes people understood is simple. She didn't vanish. She was never fully seen to begin with. And now, in the stillness of her later years, she wants to be remembered not just as a star, but as someone who mattered, even when it hurt.